Good morning. My name is Adam Mirando, and I'm the Associate Dean of Student Affairs at St. Louis University School of Medicine. It is an honor to welcome you to the annual pre-commencement ceremony. We are thrilled to honor the School of Medicine class of 2024 and highlight their tremendous accomplishments. Ms. Erin Fitzpatrick, Assistant Director of Campus Ministry, will give the invocation. Please stand.
Okay, if we could all take a few moments of silence to center ourselves in the presence of a loving God. All-knowing and loving God, we thank you for these medical students. Bless them with joy as they celebrate today. Grant them the wisdom and understanding to reflect on years of hard work. May it serve as a firm foundation for the next stage of their professional journey. We ask you to be with them as they are stretched further and learn to be neighbors to all in need. Jesus Christ, our Savior and brother, you have given these medical students friends and loved ones to support them during their time at St. Louis University's School of Medicine. Bless those here today to celebrate with them, as well as those who are here in spirit. We deeply thank you for their gift of self. May their kindness, generosity, and care continue to support these graduate medical students in residency and radiate to those they serve. Holy Spirit, thank you for giving us these scholars. Be with them as they continue their lives. Allow them to remember the lessons learned in and out of the lecture halls, labs, and clinics. They will truly be missed. We ask that you grant them happiness and love as they move on in their lives. Let them remember that their mentors and friends are always here for them. We ask all this in your good and holy name. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Ms. Fitzpatrick. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Christine Jacobs, Dean of the School of Medicine and Vice President of Medical Affairs at St. Louis University School of Medicine. Dean Jacobs.
Students, faculty, family, and friends, welcome to this remarkable celebration in which we bestow the degree of Doctor of Medicine on these 176 students. Today, students, you will enter a profession of service and lifelong learning. Your journey will be unique, but you all share a calling to care for each of your patients with the highest degree of compassion and integrity. You will be honored and humbled by the trust of your patients and your community. You'll be challenged by the complexity and the science of medicine. You'll experience the joy of a patient's recovery and the sorrow when your efforts fall short. Today, we are so proud to celebrate with you, both the culmination of 4 years of work and the beginning of your sacred calling as physicians. And now I would like to introduce our commencement speaker, Dr. Neil Cutler. Dr. Cutler is an adjunct professor of medicine in the Department of Medicine and Cardiology at the University of Colorado School of Medicine. Dr. Cutler graduated from St. Louis University School of Medicine in 1975 and completed psychiatry residency at the University of California, Irvine. He's had an illustrious career in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. Dr. Cutler was founder and director of the California Clinical Trials from 1987 to 1999, which was one of the largest phase 1 to phase 3 clinical pharmacology and investigational sites in the United States. Dr. Cutler was also founding president and CEO of Alamo Pharmaceuticals from 2000 to 2006. During this time, he developed and obtained FDA approval for a new drug to treat schizophrenia. From 2007 to 24, Dr. Cutler served as the CEO and founder of Worldwide Clinical Trials, a global contract research organization that offers product development services to the pharmaceutical and biotech industries. Dr. Cutler worked at the National Institute of Health for over 9 years and served as both the section chief for the Laboratory of Neuroscience and as deputy clinical director of the National Institute on Aging. He also served as an expert to the FDA Division of Neuropharmacologic Agents from 1981 to 1983. He was previously president of the American Foundation for Clinical Pharmacology. Dr. Cutler has been instrumental in the design and clinical development of over 300 compounds in numerous therapeutic areas, with particular expertise in central nervous system disorders. He has authored over 280 publications, including 9 books on the topics of clinical pharmacology, aging, Alzheimer's disease, schizophrenia, anxiety disorders, and diabetes. Please welcome Dr. Neil Cutler.
Thank you. Thank you. Make sure this is working right. Let me look close. So, good morning, doctors. It's a great title for you to have. I'm honored to have this opportunity to speak today, and I want to extend my appreciation to Doctors Christine Jacobs, Chad Miller, all the department chairs, deans, esteemed faculty, proud families, distinguished guests, and most importantly, the graduating class of 2024. Congratulations, doctors, on this achievement. My name is Dr. Neil Cutler, as was introduced by Dr. Jacobs. I'm a son of a urologist who also graduated from St. Louis University Medical School. Today, I'd like to talk to you about a rope, a simple braided hemp climbing rope that extends 17 feet up from the floor to a ceiling beam in a typical gym, like thousands of other gyms you could walk across the country and walk into across the country. To me, this rope represents 2 most fundamental attributes that separate a person who does not achieve their potential from a person who is destined for success. And these 2 qualities are unwavering belief in yourself and the persistence to never give up. All of you are here today are extremely intelligent, hardworking individuals. You wouldn't be here today if you didn't have these characteristics. But you're only at the beginning of your challenges, and you will face both in medicine and life. The great basketball player Kevin Durant once said, "Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." I'm going to present several examples from my life and the lives that I consider family and dear friends that prove this adage true. At the age of 55, I decided I was going to learn to climb a 17-foot rope. Most people at this stage are planning for their retirement. I spent several weeks for a few hours a day, hanging at the bottom of the rope while a trainer screamed at me to pull myself up. After about 2 months of hanging and not climbing, I think a fair percentage of people would have thrown in the towel. But you can't reach a goal if you're willing you aren't willing to hang on. So I stuck with it. Every day I worked on that rope, and by the end of the first year, I was climbing that rope, 17 feet high, five times in a row. To this day, 19 years later, I still climb the same rope every week as a reminder to not rest on my laurels. The point of my story is not to brag about rope climbing. It's to tell you about being bad at something should not be a barrier to entry. In fact, being lousy at something is where you begin with everything. Where you end up is determined entirely by when you decide or not decide to throw in the towel. I started my career at the NIH. After residency, I became section chief for the Laboratory of Neurosciences and deputy clinical director of the National Institute on Aging. I remained there almost about 10 years. Then I got an opportunity to become head of geriatrics at UCLA and Cedars. 6 months after beginning this position, there was a change in the chair of medicine, and I was told that everything I'd been promised, $1 million in research money, 10 full-time positions, were suddenly withdrawn. Unwilling to accept this, I resigned. I had no idea what I was going to do next. I just purchased a house in LA, had a small family, had a little experience in running clinical trials at the NIH. So I borrowed $300,000 from the bank against my home, rented a small office space, hired 3 employees, and began arranging the pieces to run my own clinical trial company. To say things started off poorly is an understatement. After 6 months, I was broke, had run out of money. I was forced, literally, to pay my employees with my $10,000 overdraft on my American Express card. I was on the verge of bankruptcy. After countless sleepless nights, hundreds of phone calls, and maybe 1,000 no's, I got a lucky break and landed my first trial. 13 years and 700 employees later, I sold this company to United Healthcare. After that, I founded 2 more pharma companies and sold each of them, with the latest company growing to 3,200 employees and successfully selling in December of 2023. In the beginning, when I started my very first company, many people told me that I should quit, that it was a very, very competitive market, I would never make it. When I ran out of money, everyone told me I should quit. And many times in those dark early days, I felt like quitting. But I had an unwavering belief in myself. I knew that if I kept going, kept pushing past that point where it was comfortable, past the point where most people would have quit, that's when I would get my lucky break. And in my mind's eye, I could see the top of the rope, and I just had to keep climbing. One of my greatest examples of overcoming adversity involves a very good friend of mine. About 16 years ago, I was looking for someone to practice boxing drills. I went to a local boxing gym in Los Angeles and asked several of the amateur boxers if they wanted to make a few extra bucks. A self-described chubby kid named Andy Ruiz Jr. volunteered. For 3 years, Andy and I would meet in the boxing ring for a few hours every week, and we would hit the mitts and work with each other on that. We became very, very good friends. He told me about his life, his struggles of finding a manager, his difficulty of everyone taking him seriously as a boxer due to his 320-pound weight. I saw he had challenges, but I also saw enormous potential in Andy. He was built like a Coke machine and could punch harder than anyone I've ever met. When he got dropped by his manager, I supported him both financially and emotionally because I believed in him. And for many years, Andy struggled to make a name for himself, bouncing from manager to manager, from small amateur fights to rundown sports club, half-empty venues, but he never quit. In 2019, Andy got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The world heavyweight champion, a 6'6" tall British boxer named Anthony Joshua, was coming to Madison Square Garden to make his stateside debut. His opponent had dropped out the last minute due to a failed drug screen. Andy sent a direct Instagram message to Anthony Joshua's manager, quote, saying, "I will beat Anthony Joshua." And because it looked like an easy win, Andy got the fight. I was there on June 1st, 2019, when Andy Ruiz Jr. stepped into the ring against Anthony Joshua at Madison Square Garden. Sold-out arena with 24,000 spectators, which included over 23,000 Brits who had flown across the pond to watch their star. Gift shops around the arena were selling Anthony Joshua T-shirts, mugs, hats, but not a single item had Andy's face on it. Andy was 14-1 underdog, looked like a short, chunky kid next to Anthony Joshua, a 6'6" tall Adonis with bulging muscles from head to toe. The commentators had said it was going to be a quick and easy fight. Andy walked into the ring, booed by 23,000 of Anthony Joshua's fans, but it didn't faze him. In the third round, Andy took a brutal hit to the face, was knocked down for the first time ever in his career. But he didn't give up. He stood back up, shook it off, and kept fighting. And in the same round, Andy knocked down Anthony Joshua. He proceeded to knock Anthony Joshua down 3 more times until the ref stopped the fight. And in the 7th round, with Anthony Joshua beaten and battered against the ropes. Among the 23,000 Anthony Joshua fans in attendance, you could literally hear a pin drop. Andy Ruiz became the world's first Mexican heavyweight champion, making history as the biggest boxing upset since Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. And because seeing is believing, I brought the actual clip of the fight, so let's pause and take a look.
34th professional outing, turned over in 2009.
Confident in the fact that he can stand in front of Joshua a couple of times.
Oh, big shot. From Anthony Joshua. Jr. is down in the 3rd round and he's down for the finish line. And there's the power and some sort of an impact.
Oh, good shot.
Hand for Joshua. And Ruiz in big trouble. And he's going for it. Oh, Ruiz, Joshua.
He's done. Wow.
Anthony Joshua hit an unbelievable round into a nightmare. Andy Ruiz Jr. Down, chills out, and Joshua could be counted out here. He just about gets to his feet. Legs have gone. A minute 40.
What's the delay here? What is the referee doing?
Wow, he's waving it off. Andy Ruiz Jr. The first Mexican.
Thank you. There were endless opportunities for Andy to quit his career, but he did not. He climbed that rope day in and day out, in sunshine and in rain, until the top of his career 13 years later. Likewise, there will be many days in your medical career and your life when you face challenges that seem insurmountable. I am here today to tell you that I have been there myself many times. I have felt the urge to quit many times. Over my 50-year career, I've seen many people falter, and I've seen some people succeed. Each time, the differentiating factors are believing and persistence. Having the tenacity to keep going. If I can impart one piece of advice to you today, this is it. Everyone starts in the same place, but believing in yourself and persisting against all odds is all that matters in the end. As Muhammad Ali once said, "He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life." I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak today. Congratulations to the graduating class of 2024 on your great achievement, and never, ever stop climbing your own rope. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cutler, for that inspiring presentation. At this point, I'd like to introduce members of the stage party. Dr. Adam Mirando, Associate Dean of Student Affairs. Dr. Chad Miller, Senior Associate Dean of Undergraduate Medical Education. Dr. Neil Cutler, Alumnus and Commencement Speaker. Dr. Jerry Dwyer, University Trustee. Dr. Philip Alderson, Dean Emeritus. Dr. Patricia Monteleone, Dean Emeritus. Ms. Erin Fitzpatrick, Assistant Director of Campus Ministry. Dr. Harold Choksey, Associate Dean of Admissions. Dr. Marilyn Maxwell, Assistant Dean of Admissions. Dr. Shannon Graybosch, Associate Professor of Obstetrics, Gynecology, and Women's Health. Father Dr. Jim Duffy, Associate Dean of Clinical Curriculum. Dr. Johan Buster, Associate Dean of Pre-Clerkship Curriculum. Dr. Tyler Deshawn, Assistant Dean of Student Affairs. Dr. Christina DeZara, Assistant Dean of Scholarly Teaching and Learning. Dr. Timothy Havens, Assistant Dean of Clinical Skills. Dr. Catherine Matthews, Associate Dean of Health Systems Science. Dr. Jane McCowett, Associate Dean of Faculty Affairs and Professional Development. Dr. Linda Morrison, Assistant Dean of Pre-Clerkship Curriculum. Dr. Timothy Morrell, Program Director, Pipeline Development and Student Engagement. Dr. Maurice Redden, Assistant Dean of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Dr. Lauren Schwartz, Assistant Dean of Student Affairs. Dr. Kenesha Thompson, Assistant Dean of Student Affairs. Dr. Katrina Wade, Interim Associate Dean of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Our academic chairs, department chairs, are visionary leaders of the School of Medicine. Many of them are also with us today, and I'd like to introduce them at this time. Dr. Justin Antisdale, Chair of the Department of Otolaryngology. Dr. Oscar Cruz, Chair of the Department of Ophthalmology. Dr. David Greenberg, Interim Chair, Department of Orthopedic Surgery. Dr. Diana Green-Chandos, Chair, Department of Neurology. Dr. Leslie Hinyard, Chair, Department of Health and Clinical Outcomes Research. Dr. Ravi Nayak, Interim Chair, Department of Internal Medicine. Dr. Catherine Robbins, Interim Chair, Department of Pathology. Dr. Kimberly Scheel, Interim Chair, Department of Family and Community Medicine. Dr. Samir Siddiqui, Chair, Department of Surgery. Dr. Andrew White, Chair, Department of Pediatrics.
We will now proceed with the recognition of our graduates and the vesting of their doctoral hoods. The color, or colors, with which the hood is constructed indicate two things. The satin lining is that of the college or university which granted the wearer's degree. For example, St. Louis University is known by the blue chevron on a field of white. The velvet edging signifies the field of study of the faculty granting the degree. Dark blue, the Doctor of Philosophy degree, and green represents a Faculty of Medicine. For the recipients of Doctor of Medicine, I will call each student by name and announce the specialty they have selected and the location of their advanced training. You will find the honors and awards earned by each student listed in today's program. This year, students were given the opportunity to identify faculty, family, and mentors to bestow their doctoral hoods. If you are present to hood a student, please join your student when they rise to approach the stage prior to their name being called. the marshals will assist in guiding you towards the stage. Additionally, we have 2 faculty who will assist in bestowing hoods to our students. 4 years ago, these faculty oversaw the recruitment and matriculation of the class of 2024, and it is only fitting that our Associate Dean of Admissions, Dr. Harold Choksi, and our Assistant Dean of Admissions, Dr. Marilyn Maxwell, experience the full circle of your medical education. Students, please remember to bring your note card to the stage with you. If you have an invited hooder, please hand them your hood prior to stepping on the stage. Otherwise, you will hand your hood to either Dr. Choksi or Dr. Maxwell, and they will bestow the hood on you. From there, please process across the stage to Dean Jacobs and Dr. Cutler, and then down the ramp and back to your seats. Students wearing green and gold cords are those who are members of Alpha Omega Alpha Medical Society. Additionally, we have 5 students who will also receive dual hoods for both their MD and their PhD degrees. Marshals, please escort the students to the stage. Dean Jacobs and Dr. Cutler, please take your place on the stage as well. Yeet Akhtaman, Ophthalmology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Haider Al-Hakim, Neurology, Montefiore Medical Center. Faris Ali, Pediatrics, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Evan Matthew Anderson, Neurology, Rush University. Daniel Alexander Arnott, Anesthesiology, University of Toledo. Krithika Reddy Arabathu, Internal Medicine, Boston University. Diana Isabel Bantugan, Pediatrics, UCLA. Ellen Elizabeth Barhorst, Orthopedic Surgery, University of Wisconsin. Megan Frances Bastian, Family Medicine, Providence Health. Jacob Morris Beery, Internal Medicine, University of Minnesota. Alessio Joseph Beffa, Pathology and Anatomic and Clinical, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Sydney Ann Blum, Internal Medicine, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Sabrina Gay Blumenberg, Pediatrics, University of Washington. Shruti Bogarapu, Internal Medicine, Cooper University Hospital. Sathik Buareddy, Family Medicine, University of Hawaii. Reba Marcella Bosch, Pediatrics, University of Alabama, Birmingham. Jessica Bork, her first degree will be for her PhD from molecular biology and immunology under Dr. Daniel Haywiger. Her thesis was Life and Death of Telogenogenic Dendritic Cells. And she will be doing internal medicine at Mass General Hospital. Spencer Bright, Emergency Medicine, Albert Einstein Medical Center. Stephen Joshua Bruno, Family Medicine, Montefiore Medical Center. Austin Eric Buck, Psychiatry, University of California, Irvine Medical Center. Carla Ritchie Cadet, Anesthesiology, Boston University Medical Center. Jasmine Yang Sao, Anesthesiology, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Isabel Embry Carboni, Family Medicine, University of California, Davis Medical Center. Oscar Castro, Family Medicine, Northwestern. Stephen Ray Chang, Psychiatry, Tripler Army Medical Center. Alan Jia Chen, Internal Medicine, Rush University. Jackie Chen, Family Medicine, Kaiser Permanente, Washington. Lin Yu Chen, Family Medicine, UCLA. Neil D. Chen, Psychiatry, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Yan Jin Chen, Neurology, University of Texas Southwestern Medical School. Nina Kiran Charanda, Internal Medicine, Zucker, Northwell, New Jersey. Vijay Chakalingam, Interventional Radiology, Temple University. Vani Chang, Pediatrics, University of Texas Southwestern. Wan Zhong William Chua, Diagnostic Radiology, Emory University. Timothy Villarreal Corpus, Otolaryngology, University of Nebraska. Emily Saibula, Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology under Dr. Alessandro Vendini, with a thesis Mechanisms of Replication Stress Response in BRCA-deficient cancers. She will be going for internal medicine research at The Ohio State University. Rohan Das, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Mariah Hope Davis, General Surgery, HCA Healthcare, Kansas City. Taylor Sharp Davis, Dermatology, University Hospitals, Columbia, Missouri. Armando Del Valle, General Surgery, Ascension St. Vincent Hospital. Emily Don Duncan, Internal Medicine, Primary Care, Ohio State University. Matthew Grant Dungan, Radiation Oncology, University of Cincinnati. Annabelle Catherine Engelhart, General Surgery, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Rand Ernst, Pediatrics, University of Nebraska. Alessandra Marie Espinoza, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Creighton University. Nicholas R. Fanslow, Pediatrics, Naval Medical Center. Benjamin Lawrence Friedman, Internal Medicine, University of Chicago, North Shore. Asritha Garapati, Internal Medicine, Temple University. Terry Garfield, Family Medicine, Providence Health. Austin Thomas Gillis, Psychiatry, Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. Srinivas Govindan, Internal Medicine, Zucker School of Medicine, Northwell. Zachary Greasy, Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology under the mentor of Dr. Yuna Ayaya, the role of RNA binding in TDP-43 liquid-liquid phase separation and function. And he'll be going into psychiatry at SSM Health St. Louis University. Courtney Claire Halverson, Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of Iowa. Alexis Lauren Hartman, Otolaryngology, University of Nebraska. Alec Whitney Hockness, Internal Medicine, Billings Clinic. Heer Hendry, Neurology, Boston University. Zoe Isabel Henkes, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Korean Clinic, Virginia Tech. Haley Hersant, Psychiatry, University of Southern California. Kyle Eugene Hill, Ophthalmology, Stroger, Cook County. Robert Earl Hill, Neurology, Medical College of Georgia. Maya Janae Hines, Obstetrics and Gynecology, SIU School of Medicine. Tony Heron, Internal Medicine, Mercy Hospital. Chinlin Wang, Urology, Baylor College of Medicine. Madeline Rose Huber, Anesthesiology, Case Western University Hospitals. Casey Ryan Hughes, Family Medicine, Ascension Resurrection. Madeline Maureen Hunsaker, Anesthesiology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Farhan Avi Hussein, Family Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Fayez Julian Jabori, Internal Medicine, Johns Hopkins Hospitals. Rithika Jain, Psychiatry, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Luke Francis Jett, Emergency Medicine, Naval Medical Center. Sydney Ann Johnson, Psychiatry, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Sonia Nikita Jolly, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Indiana University. Samruddhi Rawenda Joshi, Pediatrics, Cleveland Clinic Foundation. Nina Ihab Kaiser, Neurology, Medical University of South Carolina. Shadi Kavani, Emergency Medicine, UCLA. Sarah Genevieve Kutana, Anatomic and Clinical Pathology, University of California, San Francisco. Irina Xing Kwan, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Emory University. Manisha Kular, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Indiana University. Catherine Lee, Dermatology, UCLA. Young Tak Lee, Pediatrics, Kaiser Permanente, Oakland. Lana Kuzis, Ophthalmology, University of Missouri. Jake Samuel Kwan, Psychiatry, St. Luke's Hospital, Anderson. Kyle Cameron Larson, Pediatrics, University of Utah. April Lewis, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Guan Yo Lin, Internal Medicine, Zucker School of Medicine, Northwell. Alexandria Maria Lovell, Family Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University, Belleville. Fiona Lutoli, Internal Medicine, University of Chicago. Annika Mahavni, Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of California, Davis Medical Center. Sunny Mahesh, Diagnostic Radiology, St. Vincent Hospital, Worcester. Anila Mamidi, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Amelia Adele Mangan, Plastic Surgery, University of California, Davis. Amy Mao, Pediatrics, Children's Hospital, Oakland. Kaylee Jean Martinsky, General Surgery, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Monica Lara Martinek, Anesthesiology, Vanderbilt University. Ivana Masabki, Neurology, Cleveland Clinic Foundation. William David McClelland, Orthopedic Surgery, William Beaumont. Nicholas McDonald, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Megan McIntyre, Internal Medicine and Pediatrics, Indiana University. Casey Elizabeth Meeks, Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of Maryland. Abra Teresa Miller, Emergency Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Neil Ankur Modi, General Surgery, Methodist Hospital, Houston. Aisha Moen, Internal Medicine, Loyola University. Riley Ann Moody, Dermatology, Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. Shadi Shukri Nahal, General Surgery, HCA Florida, University of Miami. Kalani Nakashima, Emergency Medicine, University of California, Irvine. Pranav Nandan, Pediatrics, Johns Hopkins Hospitals. Michaela Jenna Camille Nasser, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Molly R. Nealon, Psychiatry, Temple University. Jacob Lee Nye, Psychiatry, St. Elizabeth's Hospital. Brian H. Ng, Interventional Radiology, UCLA. Von No, Internal Medicine Primary Care, Cedars-Sinai. Meta Wen, Internal Medicine, Kaiser Permanente, Santa Clara. Nicholas Wen, Family Medicine, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. Benny Nee, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Sadie Christine Niemeyer, Family Medicine, Mercy Hospital. Supriya Piedmurray, Family Medicine, University of Wisconsin. Angela Ashok Patel, Family Medicine, Swedish Medical Center. Anisha Paresh Patel, Orthopedic Surgery, Loyola University. Yash Patel, Emergency Medicine, Advocate Healthcare. Keegan Rodell Paulson, Pediatrics, Walter Reed, Bethesda. Audrey Tui Mi Pham, Pediatrics, University of California, San Diego. Megan Hillary Murray, Department of Pharmacology and Physiology, under the mentors of Dr. Terrence Egan and Dr. Thomas Burris, with the thesis Synthetic Ligands Targeting ROR and REV-ERB to Treat Inflammatory and Metabolic Disease States. And she will be training in psychiatry at Barnes Jewish Hospital. Mark Robert Moyer, Internal Medicine, Olive View, UCLA. Mark Thomas Morrison, Anesthesiology, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Brittany Elizabeth Wickman Mooney, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Mercy Hospital, St. Louis. Christopher Nathaniel Fahn, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Michaela Jean Piowski, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Womack Army Medical Center. Mackenzie Kaylin Poole, Dermatology, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Shreya Ramkumar, Otolaryngology, University of Arizona, Tucson. Nathan Keola Ramos, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Valerio Rossi, Department of Molecular Microbiology and Immunology, under the mentor of Dr. Daniel Haft. He'll be training in internal medicine, and his thesis is the mechanistic investigation of granzyme A-mediated Mycobacterium tuberculosis inhibitory effects. And he'll be training in internal medicine and research at Baylor College of Medicine. Brandon Roberts Richmond, orthopedic surgery, Loma Linda University. Forrest Riekoff, internal medicine, University of Utah. Christopher Aaron Rude, diagnostic radiology, Harbor, UCLA. Catherine Ann Shannon, emergency medicine, Advocate Healthcare. Sumana Sashistar, pediatrics, University of Chicago. Aubrey Sieve, physical medicine and rehabilitation, University of Wisconsin. Brett David Silverglate, psychiatry, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Nadia Fatah Sirajudin, family medicine, McNeil Hospital. Tanya Khan Song, psychiatry, Hennepin County Medical Center. Elizabeth Joanne Sperry, general surgery, Hennepin County Medical Center. Grant Edward Cellini, internal medicine, Indiana University. Megan Elise Stodola, pediatric physical med and rehabilitation, University of Colorado. Lauren Su, internal medicine, University of Southern California. Santosh Suthakar, pediatrics, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Emily Ann Swanson, anesthesiology, Virginia Mason Franciscan Health. Catherine Tian, Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of Cincinnati. Samantha Toe, Psychiatry, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Andreas Attilio Towers, Internal Medicine, Case Western University. Kristen Tsai, General Surgery, Loma Linda University. Marissa Katie Turkin, Pediatrics, St. Louis Children's Hospital. Travis Turner, Orthopedic Surgery, Mayo Clinic School of Graduate Medical Education. Jefferson Hoy Tyler, Transitional Year, Health Information Services, Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Ashley Van Duzen, Internal Medicine, University of Colorado School of Medicine. Rena Wong, Obstetrics and Gynecology, SSM Health, St. Louis University School of Medicine.
Yunfei Wang, Psychiatry, Hennepin County Medical Center. Michael Parker Weigel, Pediatrics, University Hospitals, Columbia. Joseph Andrew Wendt, Emergency Medicine, Rush University. Caitlin Elise Williams, Pediatrics, University of Texas Southwestern. Margaret Ann Witt, Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of Missouri, Kansas City. Kathleen Hsu, Diagnostic Radiology, Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. Kaila Yukei Yamashita, Psychiatry, University of Hawaii. Larry Young, Internal Medicine, Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. Christopher Huayawan Yu, Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, University of California, Irvine. Michael Zelizniak, Urology, University of California, San Francisco. Andy Zhang, Plastic Surgery, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present to you the St. Louis University School of Medicine class of 2024. It is now my pleasure to invite Executive Council President Casey Meeks and Executive Council Vice President April Lewis to the stage to give the farewell address to the class of 2024.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Casey Meeks.
And my name is April Lewis.
It has been our honor to serve as student leaders for the class of 2024, and we are thrilled to address you all again today, one last time.
You know, to be honest, standing up here is really a full circle moment for me. I actually was just at this exact same podium 8 years ago, graduating from high school. And thinking back to that time, like many of you all, I had a dream of becoming a doctor. But I was met with a lot of hesitant quotes like, people don't really do that where you come from, with what money, or okay, that's nice, but we don't really know how to help you. And I have to thank God because I'm honored that he would even use me, a little black girl from around the corner here in St. Louis, as a vessel to show others from this same city what is possible when you set a goal. Even if you have to be the first to do it, even if all the odds seem to be stacked against you, or even when your optimism is met with setbacks, naysayers, or even imposter syndrome, feeling like you aren't qualified or don't deserve to be where you are. I'm sure we all faced our fair share of challenges on this journey, but despite what they were, here we all are today. reflecting on how far we have come.
My hometown is very different than St. Louis. I come from a town of 7,000 people with one 25-bed critical access hospital. But I heard very similar things when I said I wanted to be a doctor. People from here don't do that, we don't really know how to help you, etc. I had precious few physicians to look up to at all, and I didn't know any women or LGBTQ physicians until at least college. So we've all heard the saying, you can't be what you can't see. And moving forward, we are the doctors that the younger generation will see. There are 176 graduates in this room today with 176 unique stories and struggles, providing 176 unique kinds of inspiration for the medical students who come after us. So we'd like to take a few moments today to honor our distinct journeys to this moment.
As a class, we all embody different paths to medicine. Some of us are the legacy, becoming the second, third, or fourth physician in the family and making everyone proud. Some of us are building our own, in that we are the first-generation college students, thus becoming first-generation physicians. Before entering medical school, some of us attained higher-order degrees, took gap years, or even had full-on careers before taking a leap of faith and changing professions altogether to become doctors. Sacrifices, each of us made many. We missed parties, weddings, graduations, homecomings, class reunions, family vacations, the list goes on. Friends and family, hopefully you have forgiven us by now. You can really just charge it to the MCAT or Step 1 or any of the other million exams we had to take. We spent extra hours in the library and gave up the possibility of having steady income in our early adult years, all in the name of delayed gratification, AKA medicine. But we knew that in the end, we'd reap a great reward, and that is becoming healers and transforming patient lives.
The class of 2024 represents 13 different countries and communicates in more than 25 languages. We are artists, athletes, musicians, writers, and gamers. Some of us were learning about disease processes in the classroom and at the same time helping to take care of loved ones suffering from those same diseases. Some of our graduates persevered through medical school while grieving the loss of family members or friends. Some of us even raised families, planned entire weddings, and had babies during medical school, which is an incredible feat. Across all of our identities and intersectionalities, our shared sense of purpose and motivation brought us here. Whatever why landed you in your seat today, whatever passion you wrote about in your personal statement, a loved one's experience with illness, an inspiring mentor in your field, a passion for patient advocacy, or a love for science and intellectual curiosity, all our varied paths have led us to today.
For some of you in the audience, including me, this is actually your first graduation since high school. Graduated from college in 2020 in the middle of a global pandemic and came straight to St. Louis to meet many others who are also committed to joining this profession. They were committed when, one, the world was trying to still figure out how to navigate it, and two, in the midst of many uncertainties, even in this field. Not only did our transition into Zoom School of Medicine feel like we were being thrown into the deep end with no floaties, but we also had to get creative and build community in new ways. Thank you to the Zoom Happy Hours. There was also political and social unrest at that time, which dampened the beginning of this otherwise exciting journey for some of us. But each of us rose to the occasion and were ready for the challenge that lied ahead. It was evident then that we stepped up not because it would grant us fancy careers, but because of the callings that we all have over our lives.
Our journey through medical school certainly was no different. Throughout our 4 years of medical training, the existing social unrest only continued to grow, and we have continued to rise to the occasion. We've endured challenges and catastrophes that at times made us fear for ourselves, our loved ones, and even our patients. But that fear has only served to fuel our passion for advocacy and patient care. 4 years ago, we all signed a class covenant and made a promise to one another. We promised to collaborate and uplift one another, to act always out of empathy, and to advocate fiercely for our community. Our time at SLUSOM has come to an end, but our responsibility to each other and to our patients is only beginning. To our family and friends, thank you for being here to celebrate with us on one of the most monumental days of our lives. We could not have made it here without your love and support, and we will be forever grateful.
and to our wonderful classmates. We hope that you always hold on to your why and that it keeps you going for when the shifts get long, when we code our first patient, or even when you start to second guess whether this was all worth it. We hope that you remember that you made a promise during M1, which Casey talked about before. And we hope you continue to fight for your patients and for what is right. And finally, we hope that you all remember to center your own humanity, because to take care of others, we must take care of ourselves first.
It has been our honor to serve you all and to work alongside you. We all should be immensely proud of how far we've come and excited about how far we have left to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Casey and April. We will now proceed with the recitation of the Hippocratic Oath. It is our tradition that the graduating seniors choose the physician whom they would like to lead them in this pronouncement. They have chosen to invite Dr. Shannon Graybosch, Associate Professor of Obstetrics, Gynecology, and Women's Health, to lead them in the oath. Dr. Graybosch, would you please join me at the podium?
Congratulations to all of you. I'm so proud of you, and it is an honor to be your guide through one more thing before you go on to your next big adventure. Will the graduating seniors and any physicians in the audience who would like to join them please stand? You will find the words to the oath in the front cover of your program. So we'll read together. Now being admitted to the profession of medicine and dedicating my life to service, upon my honor and before God, I freely make these promises. I will carry out that regimen which, according to my power and discernment, shall be for the benefit of my patients. I will keep them from harm and wrong. To none will I give a deadly drug, even if solicited, nor offer counsel to such an end. I will maintain the utmost respect for all human life. I will respect and show gratitude to my deserving teachers, and, in as far as I reasonably can, shall teach the art and science of medicine by precept, lecture, and other modes of instruction to those who are worthy. My own life and my professional practice I will keep guiltless and right. Even under threat, I will not use my knowledge contrary to moral law. I will keep silence regarding that which, within or without my practice, I shall see or hear in the lives of others, which should not be made public, holding such things unsuitable to be spoken. When skill or knowledge greater than mine will benefit my patient, I will seek assistance or advice, nor will I refuse my aid or my counsel to other physicians. I will not permit considerations of race, religion, nationality, party politics, social standing, or financial circumstances to interfere with my attending my patient. I will maintain the honor and noble traditions of the medical profession and forward its highest ideals. As long as I shall keep these promises inviolate, may I continue the practice of my profession and be respected for all time. Should I violate them, may the reverse be my lot. You may be seated.
Graduates, let us now recognize those individuals who provided unconditional support through your journey and deserve our thanks. Parents of graduates, congratulations. What a remarkable journey to see your sons and daughters accomplish this prominent achievement. Graduates, many parents have watched you grow and mature into the professionals that you are today. You've indeed made them proud. Their sacrifices have been many, and today the reward is great. Would the parents of graduates please stand and be recognized? Partners and children of graduates, you've been an integral part of their career development. Few know the sacrifices of a medical student until you live with them day and night. Thank you for your constant love and support. Partners and children of graduates, please stand and be recognized. Family members, brothers, sisters, relatives, and friends who've been there for our graduates in many different ways. Please stand so that we may recognize you today. And faculty, you have devoted your careers to medical education, and the fruit of your labor are evident in this graduating class. Thank you for your contributions. Please stand and be recognized. Doctors, new physician graduates of St. Louis University School of Medicine, we've been honored to be your teachers and colleagues for the last 4 years. We hope that you will go forward with the curiosity to seek the answers to clinical questions each day and have the honesty to admit the limits of your knowledge to patients and peers. Above all, we know that you will treat each patient, staff, and colleague with respect and compassion. With this cura personalis, care for the whole person, you, our newest physician colleagues, will bring the world the best of St. Louis University.
I would now like to invite Father Dr. Jim Duffy, Associate Dean of the Clinical Curriculum for St. Louis University, to the podium to give our benediction.
Let us pray. We hear from Psalm 93, the Lord reigns, he's robed in majesty. The Lord is robed, he's girded in strength. From ancient times, your people have used robes to distinguish the different human gifts whose power ultimately comes from you. Kings and priests, scholars and physicians, in robed professions, to serve others, that we might point to and add to your majesty. We ask you, Lord, to bless these young physicians as they enter this holy profession, enrobed today with gowns and hoods and tassels, enrobed tomorrow with a white jacket that's just a few inches longer. Gird them with your strength to endure their next level of training. Let them be humbled to wear the same robes of so many before them. We ask you, Lord, to bless their hands with gentleness, bless their minds with clarity of thought, and bless their hearts with deep compassion. We ask you to fashion them in your own image, that they might be your presence to their future patients throughout the earth. We ask this, Lord, in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Father Doctor. I would now like to invite the School of Medicine Chorus to please come forward.
sunshine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God, may God, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and give you peace. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. The sunshine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God, may God, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. May God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Thank you. I would like to thank our pre-commencement day marshals, Dr. John Martin and Dr. Austin Dalrymple, and Miss Judy Renner-Slimmett and Miss Regina Leaders for helping to coordinate today's ceremony. I ask you all to please remain in your seats until the stage party, followed by the faculty on the floor, followed by our graduates, have exited. Bless you all and have a safe and remarkable journey. Class of 2024, please rise. Please join me in one last congratulations to the St. Louis University School of Medicine, class of 2024.
Thank you.